So chapter 195 was basically a setup chapter that gave us some information on the new characters that were introduced in the prior chapter and gave us like a semi backstory per se. But we also got some new information on Maki and what her next power up might be, and I think that part is the main takeaway from this chapter. So the chapter basically started off by introducing us to the new characters as I stated earlier. Now the first introduction we got was from Daido Agane, and he's basically the old dude that we saw in the prior chapter. Now we didn't get much from his backstory per se, we only got that he has this obsession with katanas, and that kind of plays a part in what happens later on in the chapter. Now the name of the second character is Miyo Rokujushi, if that's how it's pronounced, and he basically has some weird obsession with sumo and he's dressed like a sumo wrestler. And based on what we got from his backstory, it seems as if he got information about the culling games from TV and then traveled in order to participate, so it appears as if he's not even from the area. So after this we basically went right back into the fight with Maki jumping in and saving Noritoshi by cutting off Naoya's arm, which doesn't really phase him since he can just regenerate easily. Noritoshi then notes that it hasn't even been 3 minutes as yet, because remember in the prior chapter Maki requested 5 minutes so that she could heal properly and come back into the fight, but it hasn't even been 3 minutes as yet, so she's currently still in a weakened state. Now the old guy we mentioned earlier, who for some reason has an obsession with katanas, requested that Maki give him her sword, which she does, which I found very weird. I don't know if Maki would really do that. It's kind of weird, I don't know. Maybe she would have like some kind of like pushback to it, or why would you want my sword and shit, you know? But the first time I saw it, I was like, did he like take the sword like forcefully? But it seems as if she actually threw the sword towards him. So either she sees him as an ally, or she says, okay cool, we're gonna use their help to take down this dude and then I'll have to kill them later on. So you know, we'll see how it plays out because they are participants in the culling games. So we got this interesting dialogue. It says that what you want is a new variable, something unforeseen outside of the fight, and then when the old guy receives the sword, he somehow powers up. Now when I say power up, I don't mean like Dragon Ball Z aura, but the other characters kind of feel the pressure of whatever he's emitting from his body. Now we later got some clarification on this, where they kind of expounded on his backstory. So they said that Daido is an incarnation of a nameless but brutally unmatched swordsman, so this explains his obsession with swords or katanas. Then it says that among the players he is a special case who only fights with his swordsmanship and not with curse energy. Then it says that what overwhelmed the four, which is referring to the other characters who felt his energy, was not curse energy. It was what he emanated when he held the katana, absolute lethality. So basically what they're saying here is that they're sensing his killing intent. Now based on the fact that this only happened when he received the sword, now could this be a byproduct of what the sword does to the user? Because he also says something pretty interesting as well. He says that a bewitched blade does this katana choose its wielder. So if he's basically worthy, similar to how like Thor has his hammer and shit, then if it works in that way, could this be bringing out a power within him that is not bringing out in Maki because she isn't worthy, or maybe for some other reason? So I don't know. He said something about it choosing its wielder, so obviously the wielder has to have something that the sword would choose the wielder by. Now of course this is his hypothesis, this isn't confirmed to be true, but you know, if he's saying it, it's highly likely based on what actually happens in the chapter. So even though this dude isn't even using curse energy, for some reason he's able to dodge Naoya, and we know that Naoya is very fast, even though he's not as fast as he was in the prior chapter where he blitzed Maki, because he had to get like a running start and shit, right? But he's still fast even without doing that because he has his original speed, right? So this dude is basically able to dodge him without even seeing him. This is what's confirmed later on, because he says to the girl and asks her if there's something there. So he's talking to Maki, and then she asked him if he can't see it, and then he says, I can't see it, you say? Yes, but if you can see everything else besides it, then isn't that the same as seeing it? And then he basically slashes Naya in half, which is very weird, and Naya's like, yo, what's wrong with this dude? What's up? Because this is definitely a weird scenario, because he isn't using curse energy, he isn't able to see cursed spirits. Now this could be a character that has a similar heavenly restriction to Maki and Toji, where Maki wasn't able to see cursed spirits. Now it appears that she's now able to see them after getting the heavenly restriction complete by a maid dying and shit. shit. So it's highly possible that she is able to see them. Now you could argue that she can't see them, but her senses are so heightened that she can fight them as if she can literally see them. Similar to like Sage Mode in Naruto, right? But that doesn't appear to be the case. You know, Toji wasn't able to see them to my knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I don't think Toji was able to see them. Now if he has a similar curse restriction that removes his cursed energy, which is why he isn't using cursed energy, and that amplifies his bodily movements, then this dude might be a great teacher for Maki, and this is where we might see her getting somewhat of a power up in the chapter, or maybe in the next 2 chapters from now. And this isn't really a stretch because Maki herself pointed it out in the chapter. She says, what was that? When I swing my blade, that doesn't happen. So she's basically saying, you know, why is he able to do that with my blade and I'm not able to do it, right? So basically there's something missing from what she's doing that maybe this guy can teach her, and that will push her to the next level per se. Now she might be physically stronger than the dude, and this will maybe push her above him per se, but she doesn't have like the technique necessary to amplify the form to the level where it can be, you know. So we'll see how this plays out, but this is implied that Maki will get stronger. We see her comparing herself to Toji. What's the difference between me and him? Now without Toji being on the screen, this is more so applied to the old dude, because she says that why is he able to do this thing with the sword when I can't, and then she says what's the difference between me and him. So clearly this dialogue is referring to the old dude, but for some reason they put Toji's picture. Now we don't know what's gonna happen with Toji next chapter. Maybe that's very important, and that might play into how she gets a proper power up. Now the ideas for a power up that she can get, you could say it's just limited to the curse tools, like her using the curse tools to the fullest extent, using them properly, emitting the proper energy from them, similar to what the old dude is able to do. Or you could say she probably gets physically stronger, faster, more durable, which I think might be welcome because she isn't really on the speed level compared to Noya when he goes top speed. So I think there's room for improvement in that regard, but I think mostly they're focusing on the tools aspect in this chapter, and I see this carrying over in the upcoming chapters as well. Now the last panel we got was with the sumo dude trying to do a simple domain, which Maki notices, and I guess we'll see how that plays out next chapter. So I guess next chapter is going to be heavily focused on that dude instead of the old dude we got this chapter, but we might get some more tidbits from him as well. All in all, I think it was a good chapter. It's basically a setup chapter per se. Nothing really happens, so we're looking forward to the next chapter to see how this plays out. I'm really interested to see where Maki goes from here. I think she can get a power up, but it might not happen, I suppose, but I think it's more likely that it will. Let me know what you guys think about the chapter in the comment section. You know, drop a like if you like the video, subscribe if you're new for more JJK content, Boruto and My Hero Academia as well. I'll probably drop the My Hero Academia chapter review later on tonight, so look out for that one if you guys, you know, pay attention to that series. But, you know, above all else, have a great day. Peace out.